buying the wrong handgun hurts. But buying the one everybody told you was bulletproof hurts worse. That's where a lot of shooters are getting trapped in 2026. Big names, big reviews, big reputations, then the gun finally shows up in real life, and suddenly the trigger feels worse than promised. The grip doesn't fit, the recoil is snappier than expected, or it sits in the safe, because carrying it all day is a pain. That doesn't always mean the gun is junk. Some of these pistols are famous for a reason, but famous doesn't mean untouchable, and popular doesn't always mean smart money. So today, I'm calling out 10 popular handguns that get more praise than they deserve. Some people will hate this list. Some will defend these guns forever. But the last one? That so-called legend almost taught me a lesson I won't forget. The Sig Sauer P365 X-Macro shot clean, grouped tight, and never gave me a single malfunction. I still felt ripped off. That's why it lands here. Not because it's bad, because people talk about this pistol like Sig solved concealed carry forever. Slim frame, big capacity, longer grip, flat shooting attitude. One gun that supposedly replaces everything else in the safe. Mine replaced nothing. I carried it all day and kept dragging my shirt over that grip. Sat down, adjusted the holster, got back in the truck, adjusted it again. By lunch, I was blaming my belt because admitting the expensive new carry gun annoyed me, felt worse. Then I ran it hard. The X-Macro shot better than the smaller P365S, no question. But it still felt sharper than the praise suggested, and once I added the optic, spare mags, and a holster that didn't suck, I was deep into bigger gun money. That's where the whole pitch fell apart. My smaller pistol concealed better. My compact shot softer. The X-Macro became the expensive gun stuck between both of them. And that's the trap. It shoots well enough to keep you defending it, but not well enough to stop you shopping for something else. Mine still sits in the safe. Not sold. Not trusted completely either. The FN 509 Tactical looks like it was built to make your wallet nervous. Threaded barrel, optic cut, suppressor height sights, aggressive grip. That whole mission-ready attitude FN knows how to sell. And I get it. The first time you pick one up, it feels serious. Like it belongs on a war belt, not sitting next to your range bag and a half-empty coffee. But that's where the problem starts. A lot of guys don't buy the 509 Tactical. They buy the idea of being the guy who needs one. The threaded barrel sounds great until you realize you don't own a suppressor. The tall sights look cool until they snag more than they help. The optic setup is useful, but in 2026, half the market is already optic ready without charging you, like you're building a duty pistol for a contract job. And the trigger? It works. But for this much hype, it works starts sounding pretty thin. I'm not calling the 509 Tactical junk. It runs hard, it feels tough, and I still respect what FN built. But the sales pitch is stronger than the everyday payoff. And the next one is worse, because everyone talks about the trigger while pretending the rest of the gun disappeared. The first thing I noticed wasn't the Walther PDP. It was the tag hanging off it, used, clean, barely shot. Price just low enough to make you stop and wonder why somebody gave up on a pistol the internet still treats like a miracle. That was at a shop outside Fort Worth, and the guy behind the counter didn't even try to sell me hard. He just picked it up, cleared it, and said, "Great trigger. People love that part." That part. And that's where the PDP starts losing me. The trigger is good, no argument. The grip texture bites the hand right. The optic setup makes sense. And on paper, it checks a lot of boxes. But the PDP doesn't get overrated because people lie about it. It gets overrated because they stop talking after the trigger. The slide feels tall. The gun feels bulkier than people admit. And for carry, it doesn't always disappear the way a 2026 buyer expects. A great trigger can sell you the gun in 5 minutes. It can't make you love carrying it for 5 months. And the next one is even more dangerous because people call it compact while pretending weight doesn't matter. $1,300 looks different after the excitement wears off. That's what nobody wants to admit about the CZ Shadow 2 Compact. When it's sitting in the case, it feels like a smart move. Metal frame, shadow name, smaller package, internet praise stacked so high, you start thinking the price is just the cost of being serious. Then the receipt hits your pocket. Now every ounce matters. Every holster choice matters. Every range trip has to prove you didn't just buy the pistol version of a luxury watch. I saw it with a buddy who chased one hard. Called shops, checked stock, paid more than he planned, then acted like he had won. 2 months later, that same CZ was still spotless. He kept saying he didn't want to beat it up yet. That's not ownership. That's hesitation with a serial number. And look, the gun can shoot, smooth trigger, soft recoil, beautiful control. CZ didn't build junk here. But the praise gets too loud when people pretend compact means easy everyday carry. It's still heavy. It's still expensive. And for a lot of normal shooters in 2026, the Shadow 2 Compact is more satisfying to own than to actually carry. That's how a great pistol becomes overrated. I spent too much time in gun shops, and the Sig P320 is the one pistol that can make a whole counter go quiet. Not because it's rare, because there are too many of them. Compact, X-Carry, Legion, AXG, full size, carry size, different frames, different slides, different prices. Every store seems to have a wall of P320 variants. And every shopper looks like he's trying to solve a problem Sig created for him. Last week, I watched a regular compare two of them side by side. He kept asking the counter guy, "So, what's actually different here?" The answer kept getting longer, not clearer. Grip module, trigger, slide cut, weight, finish. By the end, he looked less excited than when he started. And that's where the P320 starts feeling overrated. The modular idea is smart, and some versions shoot great. But a gun this praised shouldn't leave buyers wondering if they picked the wrong one before they even leave the shop. Then you add the baggage, the old safety tuck, the trust questions, the way people either defend it hard or suddenly change the subject. I'm not calling the P320 useless, but in 2026, if a pistol needs this much explaining, maybe the reputation is doing more work than the gun. And the next one has the opposite problem. It doesn't confuse you with options. It just gets praised like comfort alone is enough. After years of hearing people swear by the HK VP9, I finally bought one just to shut the question up. Every list praised it. Every shop guy nodded at it. Every owner talked like it was the safe, grown-up answer. And on paper, I understood it. The grip felt good. The trigger was clean. The reliability was there. Nothing about the VP9 looked stupid. That's almost the problem. Range trip after range trip, I kept waiting for the pistol to give me a reason to care. It ran fine. It shot fine. It never embarrassed itself. But it never made me want to call a buddy and say, "You need to try this." It didn't annoy me enough to sell it. It didn't impress me enough to reach for it first. It just existed. And that's where the VP9 starts feeling overrated in 2026. Not because it's bad, because after all the praise, all the best ergonomic pistol talk, all the safe choice reputation. The actual ownership felt weirdly flat. Some guns disappoint you by failing. The VP9 disappointed me by being exactly fine. I still haven't sold it, but that might be the worst part. It's sitting there, proving that a handgun can check every box and still leave you cold. And the next one is worse because it doesn't just get praised by owners. It gets treated like the answer before the question is even asked. The Glock 19 Gen 5 is the pistol everybody is tired of hearing about. And somehow everybody still keeps recommending. That's what makes it annoying. You can walk into almost any gun shop, ask for a first pistol, carry pistol, home defense pistol, backup pistol, do-it-all pistol, and somebody behind the counter will eventually say Glock 19 like they're ending the conversation. Not asking about your hands, not asking how you carry, not asking what you shoot well, just Glock 19. And look, I get why. Mine ran. It always ran. Never gave me some dramatic failure story. But the more time I spent with it, the more I realized reliability had become its entire personality. The trigger never made me smile. The grip never felt special. The sights were nothing to brag about. And every time I swapped it for something newer, smoother, or better fitted to my hand, I'd still hear that little voice saying, "Yeah, but it's a Glock." That's the trap. The Glock 19 Gen 5 doesn't get overrated because it fails. It gets overrated because people treat it like the answer before they know the question. Good pistol, absolutely. Automatic best choice in 2026. That's where the praise starts getting lazy. Honestly, I still remember the support ticket more than the gun. That's not what you want to say after buying a Taurus G3C. But that's where this pistol left me. Everybody loves calling it the budget king. Best starter, great value, cheap carry option for the money, for the money, for the money. That phrase follows the G3C everywhere, like a warning label nobody wants to read. And look, I understood the appeal. Mine felt like a smart buy at first. Small enough to carry, enough capacity to feel useful, cheap enough that you don't feel like you got robbed at checkout. Then it jammed. Twice. Still under warranty, so I opened a support ticket and waited. Parts are coming. Wait a little longer. We'll take care of it. The words sounded helpful, but the gun kept sitting there, broken and useless. Weeks went by. Nothing landed. Eventually, I fixed it myself because I was tired of waiting on a repair that kept existing only in emails. That's where the G3C praise gets shaky. A budget pistol isn't really a bargain if the backup disappears. When something goes wrong, the price gets you in the door. The support is what tells you what the gun really cost. And the next one proves the opposite can hurt too. Because sometimes the gun isn't cheap, broken, or flashy. Sometimes it's just living off a name that newer shooters still trust too much. A lot of shooters are still carrying a 2014 Answer in a 2026 market. That's the problem with the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. For years, if a new shooter asked what to carry, somebody pointed at the shield before the question was even finished. Gun shops pushed it. YouTube praised it. Ads made it feel like the responsible choice. And honestly, back then, I understood it. The shield was simple, slim, trustworthy enough, and it gave a lot of people their first real carry setup. But 2026 is not 10 years ago. That's the part people skip. The shield still gets praised like it's setting the standard, when a lot of newer pistols have already passed it in capacity, comfort, grip feel, and shootability. It doesn't feel terrible. It just feels average in a market that got better around it. And that's a hard thing to admit when a gun helped define a whole era of concealed carry, I bought into it too. I won't pretend I didn't, but today, picking the Shield often feels less like making the smartest choice and more like repeating the choice everybody made before you. The Shield earned respect, but respect and hype are not the same thing. And number one is where that line gets dangerous, because this next pistol isn't just respected, it's worshipped. A few days after Christmas, my cousin's grandson came out to the farmhouse talking about his first real pistol. He was excited, still new, still learning his grip, his sight picture, his trigger press. And then he told me somebody at the range had recommended the Beretta 92 FS as the perfect starter gun. That one made me stop. Not because the 92 FS is junk. It's not. It's a legend for a reason. Military history, movie fame, smooth shooting once you know what you're doing. The thing has a reputation so big, people treat it like owning one automatically makes you more serious. But that's exactly how beginners get trapped. Nobody tells the new guy what it actually asks from him. Big frame, heavy slide, long reach, awkward controls. And that first double action pull can feel like dragging a cinder block through gravel when you're still trying not to flinch. That's not a starter pistol. That's homework with a trigger. I told him straight, the 92 FS is fine after you got the basics down. But if your first handgun makes you fight the gun before you can learn the shot, the legend is already costing you progress. The Beretta 92 FS earned respect. But in 2026, respect doesn't make it beginner-friendly, carry-friendly, or worth all the praise it still gets. That's the real price of buying into handgun hype. It's not just the money, it's the time wasted, the confidence lost, and that ugly moment when a gun with a legendary name doesn't feel so legendary in your hands. Now, I'm not saying every pistol on this list is garbage. Some are still good guns. Some have earned their place. But in 2026, good isn't enough when the praise, price, and reputation are bigger than the performance. So tell me which popular handgun let you down this year. Which one did you buy expecting magic, only to realize the internet sold you a dream? And be honest, because I've got one sitting in my safe right now that still irritates me every time I see it. I'm Steve, and I'll see you in the next one.